can generate your own leads, you will always be able to make more money in your business. And if you can 4x the amount of leads you generate, you can make a ton of money in your business. Yo, my name is Kajana. Most people call me Cage. I run a company called Powered by Aloha, and very simply, we scale companies. Basically, you come to us, you're like, I want to make more money and get delivery done better tomorrow, and we scale it. That's kind of how we work. Now, we continue in the lead or traffic series, and today we are talking about traffic and lead generation specifically for home service businesses. So we're talking construction or contracting. Well, I guess construction technically. Construction, contracting, plumber, electricians, HVAC, landscaping, so on and so forth. That's what we were talking about today. Now, in this, what we're going to do is we're going to break down in what we've done to date to scale companies that, in terms of traffic and leads, we're going to go through each of the mechanisms one by one, what they are, how they work, exactly how to do them. Like if you want to talk about something that's super practical, you can begin implementing at the at the end of this video. You can take a pause as we go through this video in order to implement the different things we talk about that I'm talking about. There's no we. Then this is the video for you. This is going to directly correlate to your ability to create traffic that generates leads for your business. So with that, let's begin. So first off, let's start off by where we left off at the beginning of this series, which is traffic, lead, sales, delivery. In order to get someone to buy, you need enough people who show buying interest. In order to get enough people to show buying interest, you need enough people who show interest in your business at all. To get enough people to show interest in your business, you need enough eyeballs, period. More eyeballs directly correlate to more people who are interested, directly correlate to more people who potentially want to buy something, directly correlate to the number of people who actually buy something. Most business owners get stuck here in the buying and selling. Most businesses owners do not do enough repetitions or volume in the eyeballs to potential interest. And then we have our categories of how you can generate traffic. You can contact people you know in a one-to-one conversation. You can contact people you don't know in a one-to-one conversation. You can contact people you know in a one-to-many conversation, and you can contact people you don't know in a one-to-many conversation. And that is basically how it works. Now, in the case of a home service business, we are going to make the assumption that this home service business has had some clients. We're going to call it 10 clients in the last 12 months. And we're going to say that, they're legal, they have everything they need, they can fully operate. So we're going to set those parameters. Now, with that being said, let's talk about exactly what we've done and what I would do right now today if I were in this position to generate more leads for my home service business. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to go and copy this, put it a little bit lower, drop it right there. Then I'm going to put home service traffic and lead generation. And the reason I'm doing this is I realize that what I should do is, as I'm drawing in my YouTube doodles up here, I'm just going to give you the link to this board. So if you're watching this video, you can go down into the description and you can click on the link. It'll pull up. You come into this board. You do an Apple F if you're on a Mac. I don't know what dinosaurs use on PCs, but you just search for the term or the service, home service. So I guess I should put a few more keywords under that. Plumbing, electrician, landscaping, roofer, HVAC, pipe fitter. And these are all examples of, just home services, but also things that we've personally scaled over the last 6 years. Contractor, I guess handyman too, technically. Okay, cool. So let's go through them top to bottom and exactly how I would run them in this. So first we're going to delete all the things I would not do. I wouldn't do one-on-one flyer letter, strangers. Maybe in some instances I would do emails, but for the most part, no. Text messaging is way too hard, kind of illegal too sometimes. Flyer letter, so GEO, then organic, take off LinkedIn, leave. I'll take off Reddit, Blue Sky, then paid advertising, no LinkedIn. If you're doing like commercial stuff, you could do like YouTube and stuff, maybe. I'll take off Snapchat. You could do Reddit, but I mean, I would probably leave Reddit from a paid advertising perspective. Okay, cool. So here's everything you could possibly do. Now let's really break down what I would do in order of priority right now if I wanted to generate more leads for my business. So the very first thing I'll do is, number one is going to be Google reviews. That'll be the very first initiative that I focus on. And here's exactly how it works. So if you go into Google, which I've already started, and you type in plumbing services near me, let me just move my face for a second. You'll see we have companies with 3.3 thousand, 11,000, 2.4 thousand, 7.6 thousand, 2.7 thousand, 5.3 thousand. The more Google reviews you have, the more likely someone is to pick your business, simply because there's more proof that you're worth trusting. If 11,000 people say you're worth trusting, then that's more valuable than 2,000 people saying you're worth trusting. Now, obviously, there are pros and cons to everything, but basic math, you want to have more Google reviews. More Google reviews means you rank higher in Google, on Yelp, when you're in, someone asks for services near me in ChatGPT and Claude and all of those LLMs, AEO, GEO, as they call it, directly contributes to that. So if I take the same concept, I do like roofing services near me, 149, 51, 69, 135, 20, 25, 108, 37. So if someone who's on the internet, not someone you know, just some random person, jumped on the internet and is looking for roofing services, and they Google this in here, who's most likely to get the most clients, or the most eyeballs, not even clients yet, the most eyeballs? These guys are most likely to get the most eyeballs because they're ranked the highest. They have 149, which is far more, with the exception of Fortitude, far more than everyone else, and they're a 5-star. Now, that's just getting the eyeballs. In terms of converting them, that's a different conversation we'll talk about in a different video, which like things like how quickly you respond back to them, how responsive you are, so on and so forth. But just from a purely eyeballs perspective, they're going to get the most eyeballs because they have a 5-star rating against the highest amount of reviews. So with that, let me move my face back to its normal spot. That's close enough. So the first thing I would do is I would get Google reviews, and here's exactly how I would do it. So the first thing you do is you contact anyone who's ever worked with you to date, and you say, this is a text message, could be an email, could be a phone call, depending on how you communicate with them in the past. Hey, first name, hope you've been well. Was wondering if you know anyone, or wrong one, sorry, this is Google reviews. Was wondering if you could leave us a Google review for the project description, and then you talk a bit about the awesome job that you did for them on that project that they hired you for. Would really appreciate it. Super easy. Now you take this, you put this into a text message, you send it out, you put this into a phone call, you call someone, you send this in an email, however you were communicating with that person. Realistically, it's going to be text messages or it's going to be phone calls. And the reason we do it this way is we want to draw them back to how much they love the work you did. And then because you're saying appreciate, one of the biggest laws in like human psychology is that one of the biggest laws in human psychology is the rule of reciprocity. That is, if you do something good for me, I feel obliged to do something good for you. So when you bring up the project you did for them and you tell them the description of how it was so awesome, your floor looks so great, or your window looks so awesome, or we fix your ventilation system or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, I do remember that, and I really did like that thing that you did, and I really appreciate it. I would love to give you a Google review. And then they respond, and after they respond, you then send them link. Send link to Google My Business. That's the very first thing that I would do. So this is past the clients, right? It's past clients. After that, you then go to people that you know, friends, family, so on and so forth. Friends and family. Friends and family. And you say, hey, first name, I'm trying to get more leads for my business. Do you have any type projects available? I'll do it for free. You just pay for materials. Another word you can use instead of leads is more case studies, depending on your like where you are. Case studies, results, testimonials, all work. Now, why? Because they're friends and family. Friends and family typically have a they are more trusting of you because you know them well, and because they know you know them well, it's easier for them to say yes, especially when all you're offering is to fix some shit in their house that could cost anywhere from hundreds of thousands of dollars. All you're going to do is charge them the material cost. If you think of it that way, then you're going to be able to. They're going to say yes because they know, like, trust you. They're your friends and your family. And if they don't know, like, trust you, you should probably get different friends or family, or reflect on why you're a terrible person because no one like in your friends or your family circle like you. It's a very different problem, but we're not talking about personal problems today. Because if you do it this way, you can go and do this thing for them. At the end, you say, "Hey, all it's in the exchange is you give me a Google and or Yelp review." That's very much it. So this is one of the easiest ways to do that. Now, of course, in this model, you are trading time because in order to do a project, it's going to take you 1 to 10, 30 hours to implement it. But you're doing this in order to get more reviews because the more reviews you have, the more better you look online. So when people search for you, you're more likely to show up higher. Therefore, you're more likely to get more eyeballs. Therefore, you're more likely to get more traffic. And again, we're not talking about leads and sales in this conversation, so that's not as important. So then you would go and you talk to your past clients, you talk to your friends and family, and that's where you would go to get your Google reviews. Now, as soon as you've gone through every single person you know, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this is an activity of sitting on your phone and or your Facebook and or your Instagram and or your LinkedIn possibly, and or your X, if you people use X nowadays, is you go in and you send a message to every single person that you know. First, who fall into the past client category, and then second, who fall into the friends and family category. That's exactly what you would do, top to bottom, and you'd contact every single one. Now, if you wanted to get crazy with it, what you could do is you could also reach out to industry overlaps. And that's kind of the same thing. You're going to go after people who are not in your industry. Like, why would a contractor go do a contractor job for another contractor unless you're being subcontracted? That's a lot of contracted. People who are like electricians, that's an overlap. People who are like plumbers, that's an overlap and non-compete. So you'd go to your industry overlap and say, "Hey, first name, got any type projects for your friends and family?" Happy to do it for free if they give me a Google review. They just gotta pay materials. So if you're a contractor, you can go to a plumbing buddy, you can go to a carpenter buddy, you can go to a roofing buddy. All these things exist because, again, the point here is you want to give away free work so that you can get the Google reviews and the testimonials, because nothing beats proof. Think about it this way: if you went into a room and you said, "Hey, work with me," and no one knows who the fuck you are, maybe one person will talk to you. If you go into a room and every single person knows you by name, they know your entire track record, and you say, "Hey, come work with me," you'll get more than one person to work with you, absolutely. And I say not the entire room because realistically, enough people have to have the problem that you're solving at that time. Maybe they've recently solved it, maybe they're not really considering it, that kind of thing. But if you go into a room that you know people, you're going to get more positive responses than if you go into a room where no one knows who you are, or rather, more importantly, no one can vouch for you. Because if someone can vouch for you, aka testimonials, proof that other people have use your service, it's not a scam, and you're good, and you're talking about, and you're professional and all these things. If you do those, then you're more likely going to get more clients than not, and that's just kind of how it goes. So that's what we would do to get Google reviews, and that's always the first thing we go after. And if you want to be super fancy, Google reviews and Yelp reviews. But I would always go for Google reviews first, because Google reviews have the furthest long tail effect in that your reviews go on Google, they go on Maps, they go on ChatGPT, they go on Claude, they go on Perplexity, they go on everything far more than anything else does. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Now, once you begin to get Google reviews and Yelp reviews, you want to make sure you stay at the top of the industry, the algorithm. So what you do then is you do 2x updates to your Google every week. So this is very simple. If you go into Google and you go into your Google My Business, you will have the ability to make posts. So if I go into like a roofing service, let me click on these guys. In concept, they might have some photos. Okay, they don't have any. So let's go back to the plumbers, because the plumbers got like a ton of stuff on there. Actually, I'm gonna go to one of my current clients, shout her out, because she does this already, because she totally listened to my advice. So here we are a massage lady. I'm gonna click on her name. So here we are. If you click up here, oh, I clicked on the wrong one, dang it, one sec. She goes in and she posts a photo of her location and she puts it into her Google My Business. Now, why is this valuable? One of the things that Google is looking for is Google wants to know that you are a real business that is actually in existence. And one of the ways that they determine that is how frequently and how recently do you post content to your Google My Business. So basically, you take a photo at your location, you upload it into, you take a photo at your location, you upload it into your Google My Business, and you do that twice a week, every single week. It shows that you are real. It shows that you are actually operating at this location. And if you don't have a physical office, then you just take them out in the monthly field because you use your Google My Business to the area that you're currently in. Easiest thing you can do. So super low leverage to keep you at to drive you towards the top of the algorithm, and then to make sure you stay at the top of the algorithm. Now, that's the next thing you do is you do your updates to your Google Your Business every week. Google My Business. Okay. After that, we've basically covered everything in the realms of Google. So what do we go to next? The next thing we go to is we go to Facebook, Instagram, or FBIGTT, and YouTube Shorts if you use it. And very simply, all we do is, so first take a step back and let's think about social media as a whole. So the whole point of social media is to show people you exist and to get more eyeballs, right? The whole point of this entire conversation we're having today is literally just more traffic. How can we get more dots to occur so you can get more dots to convert into being leads? That's the entire name of the game right now. So the next thing you do is you begin to make content for FBIGTT, and the target I always tell everyone is when you're starting is you want to get to at least 4 posts per week. That's it. And that sounds like a lot, but it's not. But comparatively, like for right now, for my company, we're doing close to 12 posts per day on social media to get more visibility for us. So 4 times a week. Sure, you're like, oh, I'm not a super camera friendly person, bro. No one cares. Trust me. Because all you got to do is take a video of before, during, after the project that you work on. You take a 2-second, technically, you take a 3 to 4 second video at the beginning of the project. You take a 3-second video at a midpoint of the project. You take a 3-second video at another midpoint in the project. You take a third 3 to 4 second video at the midway of the project. You take a 3 to 4 second video at the end of the project. You just made 5 times 3 is 15 to 20 seconds of content. That becomes one post. You slap them all together. You put a caption, did this project at this location. Thanks name for having us or whatever. If you need this kind of service, hit us up or whatever. Boom. That's it. That basically every time you do a job, you just make a post out of it. Super simple. Video content's the most important part because all of the algorithms are optimized to send you to increase reach on videos. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. That's it. You put it into one platform. For us, we use the scheduling function of our app, aa.io, Aloha apps. Basically, you go in, you schedule it, you schedule it one time, it goes across every social media channel, and then that's it, and it does all of it for you. Then all you gotta do is just do that every time you do a job. You go and post it, and if you want to be super sneaky with it, you take double the amount of footage, and then if you're slow on jobs, you can just go and post an old job that you did, so you always have content going out, because these things begin to compound over time in order to get you more eyeballs, more visibility, more traction, so on and so forth. So that's the next thing you do. You begin to post on organic social, FB, IG, TikTok, YouTube Shorts at 4 times a week. Because when you do this consistently, it just gets you more and more and more and more and more eyeballs, which is the entire name of the game right now. We're not talking about leads. We're just talking about eyeballs, because you need enough eyeballs to occur or to be seen before you generate leads. And that's just the name of the game. I didn't make this up. So you begin to do that. And that again is simply take a 3-second video at beginning of project. Then let's copy this at middle of project, at middle of project, at middle of project, at end of project. Slap them together. Schedule. Total plug for one of my companies using Aloha apps. I'll link that out here so you can go and give that a look. And boom, that's it. And that's how you begin to generate more eyeballs using social media, but more specifically in the category that is one-to-many, because you can talk to many. Oh, and Snapchat, I guess, but again, that's an age-specific one. If you're either you're good on Snapchat or you're not good on Snapchat, so I wouldn't worry about that one too much personally. But I would do that. So we do that, and now you have posts that say you're alive and a real person and doing actual things in your business. Great. Now that we have posts going out, people can see you're real. Now we move into the next step, which is outbound DMs, text messages, and phone calls to people you know. Now, the reason we do the outbound DMs, text messages, and phone calls is after social media is because if we begin to put social media out first, now we begin to have content that shows people what we're up to and what we've been doing, for your business. Then when you begin to reach out to people for DMs, text messages, and phone calls, chances are they'll have seen something you've been up to. If you do this for a long time period, typically I would probably do like 2 weeks of this before I begin my outreach, because you want a chance for them to see your Facebook, and they want for your Instagram to come across their feed, and so on and so forth. That way, when you reach out to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I do remember John. My brother John has a contracting business. Oh yeah, no way, so crazy, right?" So once you begin to have your content going out, you then begin to contact people directly, asking them. So you say, we use a very simple framework. We do an ACA framework. And that is acknowledge, clarify, ask. So you say you're going through, you look on Facebook to see someone you're going to reach out to, and her name, and you see that she has a photo of her and her 3 kids. And we want to be very authentic when we do this. You say the 3 kids that are huge, like they're big, not like obese, but like they're bigger than the last time you saw them. So you reach out and say, "Ho, first name," or "Hey, first name." Not everyone says "ho." That's not a great way to start that if you're talking to someone about their kids. "Hey, first name. Just saw a photo of you with kids' names, and those guys are huge. OMG. It's been so long. How you been? Everything good?" Boom. Then they're going to respond back. They're going to respond back and say, "Oh, yeah, it's been so good, blah, 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 blah. How you been?" Like, "Oh, I've been good too. Really been focused on growing my type business. It's a lot of work. Lol." Clarify what you've been up to and how things have been going for you, so that you can now make a lot of sense. Because then you say it this way, they're going to say something like, "Oh, it is a lot of work growing your own business. I'm so proud of you. This is so great. Oh man, I saw your post and blah, blah, blah." Then you go, "Oh yeah, so cool. Appreciate that. Was wondering, do you have any projects you want to do? I'll do them for free. just have to pay for materials. And if you notice, what we did is we just went back up here to another round of Google reviews and Yelp reviews for friends and family. Again, the reason is the people that you're reaching out in the second round, you probably don't know them as well, or they don't know you as well and or trust you as much as your like really close friend, well, your really close friends and your family. So by doing it this way, now they're seeing all this content, they see all the things that are happening. And the goal of this is you want to have a conversation and you want to get your foot in the door so that they'll say, oh yeah, come out and quote this thing or come look at this project. Because from here, one of two things will happen. They're either going to, or one of three things will happen. They'll say, no, I don't have any. Yes, I do have one. And then they'll say, no, I don't. Or rather, let's go a bit further. They'll say, no, I don't. You say, cool. Anyone you know who has a project they've been thinking about doing. And another way so for me personally, because I like to make things, the more fun people have, the more they're likely to do what I want them to do. Anyone you know who you like has a project they've been thinking about doing. They'll say, oh no. Then you say, anyone you hate have a project, or how's about someone you hate? Lol, funny. So we do it this way. One of three things will happen. Either they will say, yes, I have a project, let's talk about it. No, I do not have a project. Yes, I know someone who potentially has a project, let me connect you with them. Then this way, if you do it this way, you are going to have to go through a high volume of people in order to generate that to get enough traffic to generate leads. But that's simply the name of the game when you're doing this for free, right? Like you're not paying for advertising, so which means you're paying in time and effort, and that's just simply the name of the game. Now, something I do want to point out is that when you're doing this, I'm typically measuring this activity in repetitions. The target is to get to repetitions of 100, which sounds like a lot, I know, but it is a lot, and that's kind of how the name of the game goes. But if you're doing it this way, I'm looking for at least a bare minimum of 10 reps per day. That's it. Now, you want to do as much as you can, and of course, there's always a question of like, if you're only advertising and marketing your business, when do you have time to do the actual work? But like, if you have a lot of time, you should just be marketing and selling, like just getting more eyeballs. But on the other hand, if once you pick up clients, what happens often is you then get stuck in the delivery of the project and you begin to slow down marketing and sales, which then means once you're done with these projects, you have no more projects in the pipeline. So you slow back down and you go into this, like, we call it the feast and famine cycle. So the better skill to do is when you are not busy, you just do as many as you humanly can. And then when you are busy, you just set the minimum, that is you have to at least 10 outreaches every single day. The more the better, but that's kind of like, simple path. So with that, we then move into cold outbounds, right? Again, warm outbounds to people that you know. That's the very next step that I would do once the content begins to roll. Because again, if you steadily move through people and you know 5,000 people and you contact 100 a day, it'll take you 50 days to get through everyone. During which time they'll have seen, realistically, if they follow you on any platform that you're posting on, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, then they'll begin to see your content. So when you reach out to them, it's not really out of the blue. They've been seeing what you've been up to, and they're typically more receptive of what you have going on. Of course, not always, because people have situations, but it's like, again, literally, that's exactly what I would do. Okay, cool. So with that, continuing on, after I do my warm-up outbounds, so first, let's go up to here. So let's cross out what we've done. We've done our messages, DM, and call and phone. Those are all done. So I'm gonna mark these in green. Oh, that's way too light. I don't like that. And green, there we go. Better. And then we have our organic. I don't think it's the same green. There we go. So now, what you could do next is you could go into contacting people you don't know, but that I typically don't recommend that when you're still a really small business and you don't have dedicated people doing it for you, because this is a huge volume slog. Like the amount of repetitions you have to do, and not to mention the costs that go into reaching out to people, it's like until you completely run through this, I wouldn't even touch doing cold outbound for a home service business. Um, until you've really run through every, and I'm not even exaggerating, every fucking person that you know. Until you've run through every single one, I wouldn't even touch this because the volume on this is just insane in order to get momentum. But but what I would do is I would immediately go into paid advertising, and that's specifically going to be your Google and then these pieces of content here. So let's talk about that. So next thing I would do is as soon as you're picking this up, if you do this with enough volume, you will be getting more clients, period. Of course, we're not talking about getting clients in this video. We're talking about just generating traffic, generating eyeballs that over time become leads, that over time become sales opportunities, over time become clients. But if you do this consistently, you will have more leads. You will have significantly more interest available to you. The next thing you then do is you go into paid advertising. That's going to be Google Ads, and that's going to be FB, IG, and TT. That's what we're going to do. So what you do is Google Ads. We're not going to get super technical into it, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to compete on a very small budget. Like you want to spend like $500 a day. Oh, sorry, a month. My bad. On the low end, you really want to get up to like $2,000 a month is when you begin, like you're really banging. But again, when you're doing this and you're getting to the advertising stage, there are additional systems you want to have in place to make sure you're not wasting leads. Very quick story. So once upon a time, I had a pipe burst and I needed to get my pipe fixed like fucking immediately. So I went through and I was on Google. This is back when I was in Hawaii. And we went and we Googled through plumbers, and all we did was just Google them. As soon as we found some, we went on the list, we called them. It took us until we get to our fifth listing that we called someone picked up, and they immediately got the business. Ow, that really hurt my thumb for some reason. I just snapped and that hurt. I don't know. They immediately got our business. Then what happened was over the course of the day, the other 4 plumbers called us back, or 3 of them called us back. And I'm like, nope, sorry, I already got someone already done. Now, that isn't necessarily part of traffic, but that is a follow-up system that is very, very important to have, which is we call it a speed to lead system. And that is the moment someone contacts you, especially in these industries, they're wanting an answer quickly, right? It's like, so not that it's not happening, but people who contact you typically aren't asking for a project in 6 months from now. They will have a problem they want to solve relatively soon. So one of the simplest leverage points you can have is by building a system that when someone uses the contact form on your page, if someone calls you, if someone texts the number available or uses the web chat function on your website, that there is a very quick automation that will immediately grab that information, send them a response saying, hey, sorry we missed your call. We just got your email about this thing. We just got your text message about this thing. We thanks for your interest on our website. Let me connect you with someone right now. Or something to that effect. Now, that isn't always feasible, right? Like if you're a one-person shop, you can't, technically you could, but it wouldn't be very easy for you to just randomly start picking up phones when you're on the job site, though that is very valuable. But the moment you have another person, another office worker, then you are able to immediately route them to that person, and you're able to go from, imagine from the perspective of the moment I submit this email, I get an email back saying, hey, so just got your intake form, super interested in your project. Someone from the office will be reaching out to you in the next 3 minutes from this phone number, and then 3 minutes later someone calls them. Like if you think of it that way, that's a great experience from a leads perspective, which goes again back to the speed to lead system, which not what we're talking about today. But when we are talking about paid advertising, I am a huge, like if you're doing paid ads and you don't have a speed to lead system built in, so you're getting back to leads as fast as humanly possible. I think the Harvard study says that if you respond to a lead within 5 minutes, you're 400% more likely to end up winning their business, which is 4x, which is a lot just by responding back quickly. When you get to the paid ad stage, that's the very first system I recommend people have, but I digress. Just wanted to give you some insight. Let's continue on. So then you go into your Google Ads and then you compete on all the keywords. You compete on all long tail keywords in your location. Now, a long tail keyword is defined as 3+ words in the search. So it'd be like plumbers in Summerlin above Durango or something. I don't know, I'm just making it up. which would be an example of a long tail keyword. And then same thing for Facebook, or rather continuing the concept of running paid ads. What you would do is for your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, is there are two routes to go. The first one is just getting more eyeballs on the content you've already been posting, right? So what you do is you find your best performing content, and this is measured first by shares are better than saves are better than shares are better than views. Then what you do is you set a budget up and you run a $2 a day ad on your best performers, targeting your geographic area. So realistically, it's gonna be like, depending on where you live, anywhere from 30 to 80 miles from where you do business. And then you would set up for people who've never interacted with you, people who've never interacted with your content. And then you would take potentially the same one, but another set of ads, and you would run them at 40 cents a day. I think the new floor is 10 cents a day, and I have to double check that. Ad on best performers, targeting people who have interacted with your content. And the reason is we always want to spend more money on people who've never seen you before, because there's always more of them. The more of them you can convert to knowing you exist, again, more traffic, more eyeballs leads to more leads, the better you are off. Then you want to have a smaller budget, which is roughly 20% of your top of funnel or cold funnel budget, as it's called. Cold ads, cold leads, cold funnel, call it what you will. And you run it back against them because these people know who you are and you want to stay top of mind with these people. And you run this ads. Now, if you do all of this, you're going to pick up more leads. Absolutely. And again, we're just talking about the traffic. And I keep saying it over and over, but it's important to note that in this, we're just talking about traffic, right? We're just talking about this. We haven't even talked about the actual creating lead magnets so people get value, sending things out to educate people on the business, giving them the first step of a multi-step process so that they can get you to come out and demo your product. All these things that actually generate the leads, we haven't even talked about those because we're just talking about traffic first, because traffic is the one that people just they wildly underestimate how much traffic you need in order to get leads. So if all you do is generate more traffic, and of course you're doing it in a not stupid fashion, meaning you're generating traffic in your geographical area, using content that you actually do, talking things that you actually talk about, you will get more traffic, period. Now with that, coming out of this video, it's super important that these are things you can begin doing right now. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you could have in concept paused at any step in this video, gone through and begin implementing on these things, and you will generate more traffic. Now, I do want to point out that in this model, you don't generate traffic tomorrow. It takes time, which is why the more repetitions you can do, the more, because the one factor you kind of count for is how long it takes for someone to read your DM, how long it takes for someone to see your text message and respond back, how long it takes someone to see your phone call and respond back. You don't have control over that, but you do have control over how many messages or DMs or phone calls you send out in order to begin generating the leads, or rather generating the traffic, Google reviews, Google My Business, all that stuff. So if you were to start right now and you contacted at least 10 people a day, between 1 month, you will have contacted 300 people, mathematically, of which 3 of them would become sales opportunities. And that's just the math on how these things work. So with that being said, I hope that was super valuable, and I hope that you can take this and begin to actually implement this in your business to generate more traffic and leads. And if this is something you're struggling with, I'd love to have a call with you, tell you exactly how to do it, how we would do it, go about it. Though I guess we did just do a lot of it here. But if that's something you're looking for more support on, happy to schedule a call. Link is down below. And with that, thank you so much for your time, and I will see you around the internet. Later.